Hello everybody, this is Josh Spicer from GameWisdom.com. Welcome to the first of several videos looking at how to learn how to play Offworld Trading Company. This is the economic strategy game from Soren Johnson and Mohawk Games. It's finally released after months of early access. I'm enjoying the game, and I'm hopefully going to play more of it both on the stream and here on the YouTube channel, but I wanted to make a quick video series just to go over some of the basics and thought processes that you need in order to play the game. Before we start doing this little series, it's important to at least go through the Learn to Play here. These 5 will give you the basics of what you need in order to learn how to play Offworld Trading Company, and is a good foundation for what we're going to be talking about today. I still need to do this stuff too. But anyway, we're going to start a skirmish. I'm going to keep it at assistant level, which is the default the game sets you at. It's about, as you can see, it's 3rd easiest. Once you're good enough, you'll probably want to get up to manager difficulty. As you can see, the eye plays at this level. So we'll keep it at 4 to make things simple, and let's get started. For this quick one, we're just going to go over the UI, what are black market powers, and founding your first HQ. What's great about the game is that it stays in auto pause whenever we're not playing or making a decision, so that we can basically talk about things and not have to worry about the game screwing us while we're talking. But let's go over the UI. First, you have your colony here. This is going to determine, each one of these buildings will determine what the colony needs, which will affect the stock prices over here of these different resources. So you can see they have a lot of habitats and a lot of offices right now. So they're going to need power, and they'll probably need food in short supply, which means that food prices, as you can see, are already a little bit higher than everything else at the lower tier. Okay, so starting from up here, we have the amount of money we currently own, which is 0. Our debt. Basically, you're going to earn debt whenever you need to automatically buy something from the market and you don't have money. If you're paying for power, it will go directly into your debt. Also, if you bid and win auctions, it will automatically get added to your debt instead of coming out of your actual earnings. The higher the debt, the worse your bond rating is. Your bond rating determines how much interest you pay back at the end of each in-game day. If it gets too high, I think you'll be paying back like a 30% additional interest every night. And that can easily cripple your reserves and lower your stock value. If we look over here, these are the companies, including myself. And this is what you're going to need to actually win a game of Offworld Trading Company. To win, you need to buy out the other opponents without getting bought out yourself. What happens is you need to buy 1,000 shares in a company, which will add basically 1 point of stock. As you can see, we each own 20% of our companies. My value is a little bit higher because we are playing at the lower difficulty level, but I assume when we get higher up, it'll pretty much be even or less. Basically, whatever that value is, you times it by 1,000, that gets you how much the stock is going to cost. Now, I can defend myself by buying my own stock, and what's important about that is, once you get up to 50% owned of your own company, the only way for someone to buy you out would be to first buy 50% here, and then they will need to buy you out by buying all your remaining stock, which means they will need to buy 5,000 shares of your stock in order to get rid of you. And if you have a very expensive stock, that can easily be in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. And most companies will not have that money starting out, or even once they get to the late game. So it's a very good buffer that you want to look into, probably in the mid to late area. Now, of course, if I want to win, I'll have to buy people out, and hopefully we'll see that over the course of this video series. Down here you have your black market powers. These are randomly selected from a set pool of abilities, so you'll never know what you'll exactly have whenever you start a new game. We'll go over these. So Cook the Books improves your bond rating. So if you're swimming in debt, this could be a good way to help you. The Mule is a way to gather resources without claiming a title. And while you won't own the tile, it's good for a quick influx and can help you out if you desperately need something and you just cannot spare a tile claim. Magnetic Storm destroys transports and just basically destroys those resources. So a high traffic area for your opponents, you could really screw with them. Power Surge disables buildings for a period of time. Triggers the Goon Squads. We'll talk about that in about 10 seconds. Slowdown Strike. Workers only go half as fast. Cannot be defended against, so that can really help you out with screwing an opponent. Mutiny. Basically takes over someone else's building for a set period of time, and you'll gain the resources instead of the opponent. And the Goon Squad is the most important. This one is usually available, I believe, in every skirmish game. How it works is you're basically buying insurance. If someone tries to mess with the building that you place Goon Squad on with a power that triggers it, so Power Surge and Mutiny in this game, if they try and do it and the Goon Squad protects it, it consumes your Goon Squad and you'll gain that black market power for free. And because black market powers get substantially more, they get cannot talk anymore. I need to take a quick drink, 1 second. Because they get successfully more expensive as things go on. Every time you buy one, the price goes up. This can be an effective way to get free black market powers in the late game where you know people are hurting for money and they won't have the means to defend themselves. Now, with everything set on this side, we can turn ourselves to the market. These are all the resources in the game. Here it shows how much we have of each, which there is nothing right now because we haven't started. And these are the starting price values. These will rise and fall depending upon what happens in the game. If you buy a lot of one resource, the price is going to go up. If you sell a lot, the price is going to go down. This is important because one of the ways to earn money is to have excess of a resource that has a high price and then sell it to then make the money that you need to do something else. So with all that said, we can turn our attentions to the 4 HQs down here. So you can see we have 4 options available. They are basically expansive, robotics, scavenger, and scientific. So the first one, Seneca Development, they get extra claims, they need 50% less steel for buildings, and their transports travel faster. As you can see, they need aluminum, steel, and glass. For the robotics, they don't require life support, which means that you don't need to produce food or oxygen for their employees. They require less aluminum and electronics. They do not need glass for upgrading, which these guys need. They need more in terms of electronics. They also receive adjacency bonuses when a building is next to an input, a building that supplies a resource. So a farm, a reactor, or even just a power plant of some kind will get the adjacency bonus. Normally, you can only get that if you build multiple copies of the same building next to each other. Reclamation Inc., they are the scavenger. Instead of needing steel in order to produce their buildings, they just use carbon. They can also use the black market more frequently, and they'll get alerts such as if there is a shortage or something happening before the other ones. What makes Reclamation Inc. very powerful is because they don't need steel, it means that they can produce their buildings a lot quicker, and you won't need the iron to produce steel, or you can do that and basically sell all your steel to the market, thereby earning the money that people would need to produce their own buildings. It's also powerful by the fact that you're basically saving a tile claim, because in order to produce steel normally, you'll need to mine it and then produce the steel mill, unless you're playing as the scientific. Their buildings, instead of needing a separate building for producing resources, all the buildings that you place down, they can just immediately take those resources off the map. So with the steel mill, for instance, instead of needing the iron and then producing the steel mill over here, you just literally take the steel mill, put it over the iron deposit, and you're done. Thereby you're saving claims, and you're still getting the value there. They also acquire patents 50% faster, which are late game technologies, which we'll talk about in later videos. Now, to wrap up this play, we're going to settle and decide who we're going to play with. So, what you do is we need to scan and see what resources are on the map. As you see, the game tells us, in some sense, what we're going to find. So as you can see, there's only one main source of carbon, or I'm sorry, two sources of silicon. We have some iron here, and water is usually the most plentiful, and 2 aluminum. So right off the bat, if I want to go scavenger, it's going to be kind of difficult because the 2 craters are so far apart from each other. If I wanted to go robotic, because they require electronics, we have a lot of silicon right here. Silicon's also used for glass, which our Seneca and New Meridians can use as well. We have 2 sources of iron, which we could also set down with for steel. So let's do some scanning. Scanning lets us see exactly where resource nodes are.
Medium levels of carbon found.
So it looks like even though these are main spots, we did find a loose carbon right here.
Low levels of iron found.
Thank you.
High levels of water found.
Alright.
High levels of aluminum found.
It's a lot of aluminum.
Low levels of silicon found.
Alright. So this is looking like a really good place to settle down. We have all the major resources, or the major starting ones, in close supply.
High levels of silicon
Right here.
found.
Now once we settle down, we'll reveal the rest of the map. But this is looking really good as a start. We have carbon, we have a lot of silicon, which means we do have electricity available. I'm sorry, we have electronics available. We have water and iron. So that's good. Now as you can see in terms of price value, everything is staying, at least in this realm, pretty early. Electronics are pretty high up. So we're going to need them. We're going to have to spend money, or we're going to have to produce it. But this is looking like a really good starting position, again, because everything is in short supply. Now another option in terms of setting down your HQ would be one that specializes with the HQ that you would like. So like, let's say for instance that this area had 2 volcanic veins which are used to produce power using a geothermal station. Because robots use electricity a lot more than anyone else because of their bonuses and whatnot, units use power instead of fuel. That's the big point. They need the electricity for everything. I would probably choose a robotics HQ if we have access to two sources of the most energy we can get. But let's say, for instance, instead, we found a huge area of carbon. Let's say it was just like carbon, 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 carbon. I would then want to use Reclamation Inc. because they need carbon for their buildings. So, since we have an even mix here, although we do have a lot of silicon, question is, everything's in pretty short supply, so we're not going to need to do too much in terms of transporting. My question is, I think I'm going to go with either... We don't have a lot of carbon here. Now, of course, I could take what's over here, but it's going to cost me a lot in transporting to get it back to my HQ. So we have little supplies here. We have a lot of water. We have a lot of that. I think I'm going to go with scientific this time. Now, obviously, like any strategy game, you need to know where's the best place to place your HQ. And this is where things get tricky. If I place on top of resources, I'll earn that at the start, but then I won't be able to mine those in the future. And, again, the further a resource has to travel to get back to your HQ, the more it's going to cost you in fuel. Now, right here, we have two very good sources of water. It's right next to this iron. Again, we don't have to travel too far to get anything here. So I think I'm going to plant this right here. That way I can immediately build water here and let it come. We don't need to worry about transporting anything to our HQ. So here we go. The game is afoot. So now that the game has officially started, more information has popped up on screen. As you can see, if we want electronics, we need aluminum, carbon, and silicon, which, as you can see, we have aluminum, carbon, silicon, a lot of it right here. And when you put your mouse over the building, it will tell you what it consumes and what it will produce out. Now, as you can see, different buildings require different resources. Usually, most of the mines don't require additional resources, but stuff like this needs steel and glass, aluminum and steel. If you don't have enough of a resource, you can buy it directly from the market, but then that will, of course, eat into your profits here. Down here we have the 5 advanced buildings, which you will see over the course of this play. And here's the option to upgrade. When you upgrade, it will raise the cost of what your HQ needs. So for the scientific, we need water, food, and oxygen. If you run out of those resources, you will be forced to buy them. And it will give me 4 new claims. Now, if I was playing as the expansive, I will get an additional claim on top of that. So, I think we are set. As you can see, we now see the majority of this map. We can see where everything is. Here are those geothermal vents I was talking about. We could have set down over here and possibly be a robotics, but the downside is there is no access to electronics, or what we need, which would be carbon and silicon. But if I wanted to, I could try and take one of these for the power. So as you can see, there's a huge supply of carbon right up here. I just have this one right there, but it's close. I may want to set up a magnetic storm to mess with people who are trying to get the carbon up there, or even do mutinies and such if the time comes. But anyway, here is our map. The other characters are going to start settling down as soon as we start playing. And that's going to do it for this quick little video. The next one, we're going to spend more time on Offworld Trading Company. Specifically, we're going to do most of the early game and talk about what you need in order to get your HQ off the ground. The next video will probably be after that. We'll talk more about these advanced buildings, and then we'll probably do maybe one more that's specifically end game oriented. But that's going to do for this one. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out game-wisdom.com, where I examine the art and science of games. Subscribe on Twitch and Twitter under GW Blazer to get the latest updates when new content goes live. And lastly, you can find me on Patreon under Game Wisdom. 8 donations would be greatly appreciated and will allow me to keep putting out great content and keeping Game Wisdom ad-free. Thanks again for watching this play of Offworld Trading Company, and we'll be back real soon. Take care.